What's up guys, it's your boy Mickey back here again for another vlog. This week, we got the RX-8. RX-7 is running good. I've been driving it back and forth to meets and the office the last couple days. We've got about 850 miles on it now. It's ready to be tuned when I get back from New Zealand. But, subject matter at hand today is our RX-8 and our over fenders.
Send it.
I got my partner in crime, Ricky, with me again today as usual. And we're gonna go ahead and get these fenders mounted up. As you can see here, we've already got our pilot holes for the fenders, and the fenders are already drilled as well. What Ricky and I are gonna do, we're gonna install our Downstar hardware that was sent over for this kit. It's got a very small beauty washer, I don't even know how you call that. We have an Allen type screw, which won't focus, that fits into the washer like so, and looks nice and pretty. And then we have our expanding well nuts.
These nuts?
Which we have to actually open up these holes. Our pilot holes for the Clecos are here, but what Ricky and I are going to do is actually open that hole up to the size of this, and then what happens is you drop these in the hole, and when you tighten up the...
Well, I've learned about it in sex ed. I really don't need you to sit here and talk to me about it.
When you tighten up the screw, it actually expands this and crushes it into place. So these are an alternative to a normal riv nut or nut cert, I guess they're called by industry, where you would put a hard nut cert in, and when you impact that, it actually expands the back of it like a rivet and doesn't allow it to come out. The problem with those is there's no variation of movement whatsoever. They do have offset riv nuts, which I used on my Liberty Walk car, which allows the screw to go in at a little bit of a different angle than just straight. Those are very nice, but this is about the most universal application you can use, and really when they're in, you don't know a difference of what type of fastener they use behind it. So we're going to use these Downstar well nuts today, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I should also explain that you can see that this isn't welded yet, these tabs. So Evan actually just ran out. We got our welder from Lincoln Welders. Thank you to them for supporting the hunt quarters. We got a badass Lincoln TIG that just showed up. So Evan has just run out to grab a length of extension for the welder. And as soon as he's back, we'll go ahead and start welding this up. But in the meantime, Ricky and I are gonna get the fenders ready to go on. What are you doing there, guy?
I am drilling out your quarter panel, well, your flares.
So we had a pilot hole. Can you show the pilot hole?
Right.
So the pilot hole is on center as possible, and those are our guide holes. Did you grab a screw or no?
I did. No, I just eyeballed it that way.
Good job.
Yeah, I'm that good.
So basically he's opening up the hole so that this now fits through.
That's what she said.
And has a nice look, because before our pilot holes for the Clecos are too small. Ooh, one more. As you can see, I've already marked these fenders as well, the areas where we're going to cut out, because if we do pull the wheels and tires out as far as they need to be so that they're aggressive fitting, that portion of the fiberglass will need to be removed. They leave it on there in case you don't run a crazy setup. We're running a crazy setup.
Alright guys, I am finally back now, and it's time to tackle the rear quarter panel. So I think this is one of those things that a lot of people are scared about doing when they have to do an over fender or wide body kit, but it's really not that difficult if you have the right things. So as you guys saw in the previous video, Mickey already cut out the outer skin here to the arch that we're looking for, and then he cut the inner as well, and also cut in the perpendicular direction. So you have these, like, I call them leaves, and what we're going to be doing is first cleaning up this edge, removing any of the paint and primer. That's important to have a nice clean surface so that you can weld. You better not turn that on right now.
You're right, because I don't have safety glasses or ear protection.
Or gloves. All right, the other thing I need to do is I also need to grind the surface of the leaf here because we're gonna be pushing all of these up and then welding that seam there. And you wanna make sure whenever you're welding or brazing or anything really, that the two mating surfaces are nice and clean. So,
it's a nice new pair of Gorilla Glyphs fresh out the box.
Woohoo! So this process typically isn't that hard. It might be a little bit tedious, but as I said, the first thing I need to do is take the flappy disc and just grind away maybe about 1/2 inch of this paint and primer, and then I'm going to fold these down and do the same thing on this side so that we have two nice clean surfaces. And then I'll probably get a hand to do this, and we'll hold it up and put a little tack all the way around and the nice bead all the way around. Once we have all of these welded, we're going to come back with the cutoff disc and cut away the excess, and then grind away the excess, and then at that point, you're barely even going to see that there's any fenders being cut here. So let's go ahead and get it done. All right, so this is what I meant by cleaning up both surfaces. So as you can see, I've basically removed all of the paint here. And then when you push this up, you can see how that joint there is a nice clean metal on metal contact. That's what we're looking for. So we have a nice good joint there that's nice and strong, and will eventually be weather tight as well. So before I go ahead and start folding these up, I'm gonna wipe them down with a brake parts cleaner, and then we're gonna start the welding process.
And while he's doing that, I'm up front here modifying the headlight brackets. So Chris from Flyride actually modified these headlights. They've got a bunch of really cool stuff going on inside of them now, different than what they had when they were stock. And so basically when he put them back together, he didn't put any of the brackets back in. So we're gonna go back in and do that. So basically what these brackets are is they allow the bumper to sit in here nice, and it keeps the gap between the bottom of the headlight and the top of the bumper really good. And then there's also this side bracket that keeps the bumper lined up here with the fender. So what I've had to do is I actually went in and clearanced this area because we've got one of our well nuts goes in here and needs the room. So I've gone ahead and actually modified the bracket. You can see on this one where I actually shaved down the leading edge of this bracket. This is the driver's side, but on the passenger side, that indicates this area right here. So what I've done is created this little pocket for our well nut to sit in. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. This is what it looks like without the bracket, and this bracket sits on here like so, and actually pops into that provision there, and that provision there. And obviously you can see before the side bracket goes on here. The side bracket needs some modifying too, so I'll go ahead and do that while Ev's welding.
Okay, so actually, after talking with Calvin quite a bit, he was the last person who did this. Instead of actually TIG welding with like a mild steel rod, we're actually going to be doing a high temperature brazing. So this is actually a silicon, Jesus Christ.
Talk loud!
No, hold on.
Yeah, you can talk over that. You don't even hear it.
You do.
Especially with that mic.
All right, so we're going to be using a silicon bronze filler rod today. So technically, this is actually brazing, it's not welding, but you more or less do the same thing. So I think this is gonna be pretty easy. The reason why we're using this is so we can keep our temperatures down. When you do TIG welding, especially on such thin of metal, oftentimes it can warp basically the panels, and that's what we don't want. So we're gonna be turning the temperature and the output way down on the welder. We're gonna use the silicon bronze filler rod, and I think this is gonna make our life a lot easier today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so Mickey and I are gonna continue putting the tacks here, and then once we have that, I'm gonna come back and put a bead all the way across that edge there, and we'll go ahead once we get to that process, and I'll show you what that looks like when we finish each section. And then we're gonna come back and cut everything off. So we'll keep you guys in the loop.